Kate Mille Falchi, which means in Gaelic 100,000 welcomes.
I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
History is a nightmare from which one must awaken.
Hello there, and you're very welcome along to Deep Diving with myself, Malachy. I want to give a big welcome back to our loyal viewers who have been following the last few episodes. And I'd like to say a very welcome to the new viewers who have come in because they heard about a strange man who is a reincarnated druid who talks to a distinguished gentleman and award-winning broadcaster, Malachy, about the dark side, the unknown, the other world. I am, of course, talking about Mr. Balor O'Brien. Good day, sir, and how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, Malachy?
Well, all the better to see you, my dear. And I can tell you that you have some sort of a dog theme going on tonight. Is it furry around your beard area? Are they fangs I see? Is it dark eyes and a puppy black nose?
Well, I suppose we try and have the team for the night when we're getting ready and prepared. So, of course, tonight we're going to be talking about werewolves and moon callers in Irish folklore. So it's going to be important.
Wow. And of course, as you mentioned, we do make a great team, the pair of us. So before we get into that, Bala, there's been a few questions from viewers over the last few episodes that we didn't manage to get to. Some we can't get to for legal reasons. But the first of the nice ones we got is Bala real life? Well, Bala, are you?
Of course, I'm real life. I mean, it's the people who are plugged into computers, who are plugged out of the real world. They don't know hardly what a tree looks like anymore. They're the people who are unplugged.
How? Your candle has gone out there. It's just the lighting isn't as good, man. Yes, that is true. It's lighting, is it? No.
Yes.
So, okay.
No, it's not. One moment.
Okay. We might cut that out depending on how long it takes you to light that candle. Just keep, yes, very good. We'll just continue. So, what does Bala do first thing in the morning, and what is his favorite breakfast?
The first thing I do every morning is I go out for a run and I dive into the river.
Wow.
And then I come back.
And fully clad, or do you have your robe waiting on the side on the riverbank, or how is that done?
No, usually I do this quickly. There's no time to be getting clothes or taking them off. It's just however it falls. If there's clothes on, if there's clothes off, we're gonna go with that.
So straight out of your nest and you dash toward the river. How exhilarating, sir. And another admirable quality to have.
Well, I guess I just need to keep active, and it's a great way to start the day.
Of course.
Even if you're dragging yourself out, just get your heartbeat pumping, get the blood rushing through your body, through every part of your body.
Absolutely.
Get you alive for the day.
Wonderful. Somebody just wrote on a comment on one of the videos we had, Supermax or McDonald's? ? I love those questions.
Yeah. It's typical. It's typical that people will say that. You know, We should be living off of the land. I mean, we should be doing what our ancestors have done. We should be foraging for what we need. We should be growing. We should all have a garden or a public space that we're able to till for growing potatoes and all sorts of plants all year round. There is wonderful, you've cherries, you've blackberries, you've raspberries, you've every kind of a thing that you need. What else? What else would you need?
True. And so you're not going to answer which one you prefer, Supermax or McDonald's. Don't tell me you haven't had either, because that's just probably a lie.
I've heard only that Supermax is the better one.
Okay, we'll go with that. Check mark to them. Final question is actually aimed at me, which is slightly disconcerting, but it just says, has Malachy's wife ever tried to escape? Dear, oh dear. Oh, what a humorous question to ask. The answer is actually yes, once. But after hiring a private investigator, she was returned to her quarters, and she now has lived happily ever after. It all turned out well in the end. So, Bala, we've had many other comments that I can't read out now that were less than flattering with your depiction of St. Patrick. And of course, we have a lot of St. Patrick worshippers out there that would probably follow him like a rat followed the Pied Piper into the river. Not comparing those people to rats, of course. There are people who have their positive views on the saint. But Bala, would you like to just address St. Patrick and close off your arguments?
There are no arguments. There's only the facts. St. Patrick was led astray. He came back to Ireland. He was convinced by this spirit, this evil force that wished to conquer Ireland and who had an agenda against the Druids. And he imbued powers upon St. Patrick to do his bidding. But of course, Ireland is a big place. He had other wheels turning, other machines operating. And I suppose we'll be exploring exactly what went on. And I mean, there's loads of people who rejected St. Patrick, and probably the least well known, but the most important are the werewolf clans in Ireland.
Oh, what a beautiful segue into our topic for this evening. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the Wolfwalkers, that is being popularized by an animated cartoon, I think they call them. At the moment, it is done very well with regard to awards ceremonies. Your candle's gone again.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, maybe just push it forward. I think you're breathing heavily on it and it's just blowing it out. Maybe just take it away from your mouth, because it looks like you've been huffing and puffing and blowing out the candle. Like the big bad wolf. Bala, take it away. What do we know of the Wolfwalkers of old, sir?
Well, I would first of all, I'd like to give full credit to the film. I don't know, have you seen it, Malachy?
No. Not my cup of tea, cartoons. I'm more of a 70s detective series kind of guy.
Well, highly recommended. Highly recommended.
The Streets of San Francisco with Michael Douglas. Really liked that series. Very underrated. And I love the bit at the end when it said epilogue, and you always knew they were just going to wrap everything up in one foul swoop. I miss those programs and wish they returned. Back to you, Bala.
Okay, well, I haven't seen it, but I'll definitely check it out with that recommendation. No, so I suppose Wolfwalkers has an awful lot of detail that is quite accurate to one species of werewolf that existed in Ireland. So we wouldn't have called them wolfwalkers, but we would have called them moon callers. And these were people who could transform into wolves. Now, there are varying degrees to their powers. So some of them could do it on command, like for example, they're equivalent of royal blood, or they're exceptionally powerful individuals. They would be able to do it on command. Others would require certain rituals or a full moon to do so. Now, the interesting thing is when they transform, it is just like in the film that they actually separate from their bodies. Their mind separates from their body, and a physical form of a wolf appears. And they would have actually had relatives who would guard them against any attackers, because, and of course, they would have to hide their bodies because they would be exposed. Their sleeping form would be exposed. But some beautiful details that exist in the real world that the show, I suppose, didn't have the time for, is that when they hunt in their wolf form and they eat, the food, the meat they consume actually appears in their human mouth, and so it sustains them. But they will be cold and silent, and it will appear as if they are dead. And of course, if their body is killed, they'll be trapped as wolves forever. And any harm that it comes to their wolf form is inflicted upon the body. So they can be killed as a wolf, and they can be trapped as a wolf if the body is destroyed. So there's quite a lot in it.
Just to run over that again. So let's say I am one of these wolf people, walkers, as it were. I'm walking along in the forest. I sense danger. I feel that the best way to defend myself is to take on the form of a wolf. Now, does there have to be an actual physical wolf near me so my psyche, soul, mind can leave my body? I fall asleep, as in my remaining body falls asleep. It travels over to the wolf, and through some sort of a Ghostbusters type possession, lands into the body of the wolf, and off I go. Have I summed that up correctly, sir?
No, no, unfortunately not.
Okay,
It's
please
a little
explain,
bit.
because there are people out there right now, like me, slightly confused by all of this.
So when you are a wolf, so a moon caller, if they wish to transform, if they're undergoing the transformation, their human body goes into a sort of coma, and their mind manifests a physical form of a wolf, which is separate from their human form.
So it's not a physical wolf they're embodying, it is some sort of a spiritual werewolf?
Yes, but a beautiful thing, something you touched on just now, is that the wolves, they were able to, and they still are in some corners. There are certain individuals who, again, are more powerful, who can change on command. They can actually, as I said before with the royal blood, they would actually have the power to turn their physical body into a wolf form as well. But more than that, they would actually be able to enter the minds of wolves and control them.
So when one enters the mind of a wolf, do you give up your human traits? Do you keep your human traits, or do you all you want to do is hunt, eat meat, and lick your nether regions?
No. Now, there are
Because any
there
man
are
worth his salt who has a pet dog has looked on with envy at times.
all right. Well, look, you're the most
I'm
important thing
just
to remember.
speaking the truth here, Bala. I'm just trying to put across a very human, physical need in men when they look at their pet dogs. And I presume wolves, being from the same greater family, would have the same carry on, would have the same traits. And why wouldn't you want to do that if you were embodying a wolf, sir?
Well, I have to say I don't have the ability myself, so I've never faced that type of temptation. From the sounds of it, it's possible that you've had an experience like that, whether it was a
No,
dream or some sort of
no, 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 no,
maybe
no.
you.
No, I'll stop you there, Bala. I have never once done that, attempted to do that. I have never sought an operation to remove lower ribs or any such kind. So any allegation to that end or any smart comments about that should desist now. It was a mere innocent question that I feel that some men looking at this video will empathize with. And we need to cover all bases here. We have all sorts looking at these videos. So back to you, sir.
Thank you. Well, so there are wolves who could be their minds could be taken over by the uh, moon callers. You're taking us down quite a dark road, I suppose, because with the idea that they would wish to experiment with the wolves, because particularly when they can control the minds of the wolves, it would be quite a dark direction or train of thought to be going down. So I might just move us over in the other direction where we'll be
Absolutely,
talking maybe
absolutely.
more about.
We are talking, of course, mythology. Wolves, of course, appear in many ancient folklore as well as modern
Well,
tales, such as Little Red Riding Hood, though she met the wolf in the forest. And of course, you had the three little pigs, and the wolf tried to blow down the house. And you had, of course, the boy who cried wolf, who pretended that there was a wolf. And then one day there was a wolf, and the wolf ate all the sheep.
yeah, no. Um, there is mythology around werewolves, but we're not talking about mythology. We're talking about what's going on, what has passed in this world. And there's an awful lot of information about werewolves and moon callers and wolf skins. So what I was going to go on to was just, I suppose, to make a distinction between the different types of, as I say, werewolves. So there are the more purebred ones, which would be the moon callers. And then you would also have another type called wolf skins. Now, wolf skins would be more like familiars to the moon callers. They are, how would you best say? They are originated from kind of wild men who have embraced nature and the ideals of the wolf, either it's the animal or these communities of moon callers, and they would have retreated into the natural world and exposed themselves to the elements. In some cases, what they did was they hunted wolves and wore their pelts as a kind of a status and a sense of I am elite in this wild world. And others would have done it as a kind of a rite of passage, but they would have had a great reverence for the wolves. So it isn't fair
When
to
you
paint every.
when you described the pelt of the wolf, of course, a modern expression is he jumped into the river in his pelt, relating back to what you do every morning. Is there something? Is there some correlation there between the wolf's pelt and your pelt?
I don't always. It depends. It depends. I don't have a specific ritual for the jumping in. It's more just to get out and get moving and dive in. But
Of course,
I
of course.
think I think we're yeah. I think we're going to just bring it back again to the wolves. So we are talking about extraordinary creatures and extraordinarily complex societies, because remember, these creatures have existed in the wilds and in the fringes of Ireland for thousands of years. They are very complex creatures, and as I said, they're divided into different groups. You have the moon callers, and some of them are kind. Some of them, their ideologies are to support nature and support life, and others have more destructive tendencies and would align with evil forces. But one thing that they all have in common that would, I suppose, tie back to what we were talking about over the last few weeks would be St. Patrick and their resilience to his teachings. Because the most important thing about the moon callers, again, these are the ones who would separate from their physical bodies when they manifest themselves and as wolves. What they had, it was this understanding that the mind is different from the brain, and that the brain is like a kind of how would you say, it's a device to filter information so that we only perceive the information from the physical world around us. That's all we can make sense of. So it's the only information our brain kind of processes for us. The rest it tries to filter out. So they understood for thousands of years that our minds were separate, and they embraced that. And for that reason, they gained this extra heightened sense, and they were able to pass into the other world and do all kinds of extraordinary things.
Do you believe that at some point in history, because of this wisdom that these moon howlers, what are they? Moon callers, yes?
Moon callers, yeah.
Yes, that they had. Do you think, similar to the ancient gods that were worshipped by the pagan people, or the ancient spirits, that they were relegated to being some sort of an evil, mystical, bad creature?
You mean in the stories that we remember them in?
I don't know.
Or
I lost. I can't remember what I was asking. Just continue on. I'll get back to it. I think I was trying to say.
okay, so
Let me think
for our
about.
audience,
Let me think about
sure,
that.
sure, Malachy. No
It's
worries.
here, but it just didn't reach here yet.
Okay, well, we have time anyway. We can circle back.
I'm going to write it down. So just continue on. I'll articulate it here as we go.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is, again, they're different groups. They're not all. They have their own political systems, and what you would look at would be the different types of moon callers, as I said, good and bad, and then looking at the wolf skins. What happened with them was they would have had varying social classes as well, different ideologies. Some of these communities would have been seen as protectors of humans, particularly.
Okay. I have it. I have it. Sorry, Bala.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Basically, what I want to ask you is, why are wolves bastards in children's fairy tales?
Who said that?
Well,
Who said that?
Well, I'm just the people who wrote the fairy tales. Your candle's gone again. Why are they? They all seem to be assholes, really, when you think about it.
Well,
The Red Riding Hood wolf eats the granny. The Three Little Pigs wolf blows down and destroys 2 houses. The Boy Who Cried Wolf eats all of the sheep. No real redeeming qualities in any of these wolves. Do you believe that that is intentionally done so we will all fear and hate wolves?
yes. There's two points on this. 2 points on this. The first one is that there's this huge conspiracy by the powers in charge where everything we are taught and everything we are kind of constructed to believe as a society, like the most kind of base information and the way we filter information, is to kind of ignore fantasy. Oh, the fantasy is ridiculous. Oh, the wolves are ridiculous. It's all to kind of condition you to not look for it and not question it, because it doesn't benefit those in power to that we would be able to tap into these powers, these amazing things.
You're rolling. Don't bother with the candle. You just keep going. I can see your face.
And
come on.
We need to
Yes.
wake up. The people
This is
need to
good
wake
stuff.
Up.
Wake up. Yes,
Wake
people.
up.
Yes.
We need to wake up. And what we also need to do, is we need to realize as well that a lot of these writers, a lot of these men, not only were they bought or they were part of the problem, these conspiracies, but they were also probably pussies. They were probably afraid of their dogs. They were probably afraid. They were probably bitten as a child and cried to mommy, and they believed all canines were evil, and they were probably maybe they were a real dick as a child, and maybe they stepped on the dog's tail and the dog bit them, and that's why it happened. But it's ludicrous that these animals and these species, by extension, moon callers and wolfskins, they don't even get their right names anymore. They're called werewolves and man dogs and all kinds of ludicrous things.
So I would stand up now and applaud you, but I would go off screen if I did that, and you would be looking at my midriff, and believe you me, that's not a pretty sight at the moment. Vala, that's a beautiful way to wrap this up. Is there anything further you'd like to talk about the wolves?
There is loads I would love to talk about.
Okay.
But I will just sum up. I love the idea that they rejected St. Patrick. He couldn't infiltrate their communities.
Here we go again. We're going to have comments below galore now about St. Patrick being wonderful, and don't be, a radical lefty calling for the cancellation of the patron saint of Ireland and all that kind of stuff. So please tread lightly, sir. Have a little bit of respect for St. Patrick, if you don't mind.
I have the appropriate amount of respect for St. Patrick, but when we cover topics where St. Patrick showed his poor color, his worst colors, his worst aspect, then I'm afraid that I will have to be critical of the man. And there are these areas when it comes to the communities of YouTube who enjoy attacking any criticism of St. Patrick. What I would love to say is that you probably hate the dogs too. You probably think that the werewolves and the moon callers, you probably think they're all bad guys. You probably think they're the bad guys and St. Patrick is the good guy, because everything is black and white and there couldn't be any kind of nuance or gray area. It couldn't be that some of the wolf moon callers were bad, some of them were good. It couldn't be that St. Patrick was partially bad and partially good, as we all are. That's beyond the realm of possibility. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting once again, Bala. You're very passionate about this subject, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a previous life you weren't a little wolf cub yourself.
Well, we're getting off topic now, but we can talk about my my childhood again in the future.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Is it time once again to delve into behind the scenes of Ennis Town in County Clare? I remembered for Bala's Private Eye.
Yeah, I suppose it is.
What's going on this week, sir?
Well, some weird stuff is happening in town. Yet again. We have been talking about it for a long time, but I mean, this week I was walking around town, and to be honest, I hadn't really had time this week to be looking for any kind of unusual activity. And yet I still found it in this town because there is something strange happening here. And the people know it and they can feel it. And maybe a lot of them want to keep it to themselves, or they're afraid of opening their third eye. But deep down they know something very strange is happening. And probably some of them are involved and playing dumb.
When you say your third eye, sir, what are you referring to? I can only think of one myself, but that is quite rude, apart from these two eyes. Is it the middle eye between your eyebrows? This area here? I've heard of tapping, that if you tap that often enough, you'll start seeing things.
Is it working?
Tonight. Not tonight. No. I'll do it again. Yes, I see you have the Triskelion there in the middle of your forehead. Beautiful, sir. Wonderful, wonderful makeup. Please continue.
All right. So this week, I was minding my own business this time. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't trying to overhear conversations. I was just walking. And of course, it's coming into the summer. Well, not yet the summer months, but we're moving into the brighter part of the year. And of course, it's going to be raining a lot. So I took shelter in the park under a tree. And many people did. I mean, this particular rain hit like, I don't know what you would call it, but hailstones and lashing rain. And I took shelter under this massive tree, and I noticed a few people sheltered behind a large, how would you call it? Well, a large wall, but it was more than a wall. It was what they used for kind of an old style cattle mart type of a wall. If that makes any sense to you, I'll leave that with you. And there was two people under it, and the man was looking very, very sour and had his arms folded, and there was nothing interesting going on with him. Now there was a woman beside him, and she was a very interesting figure. She was called, her name was Nemo, and she was speaking very she was very animated, and she was speaking on the phone with somebody about something she had seen recently in Ennis. So
don't tell me she was lost. I said, don't tell me she was lost. Nemo, you say? Like the little fish?
Yeah, that's very good, Malachy. That's
yes.
Very, very good.
Yes, I know. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she was basically recounting this story that she had heard, or sorry, that she'd witnessed. She was recounting her own event, or what she had seen. So Nemo was walking through town to work, and she noticed a man driving through town with this very striking makeup on his face. She said it was kind of like a mask, like a Halloween mask, and a mask of the villain in a horror film. And it stood out to her. And she didn't just see him one day, she said. Apparently, this is someone she has seen several times throughout the town over the last few weeks, usually driving a car. And she said that she passed him when she was at a car then a couple of days after, and she decided to follow him. So she followed him. He was driving his car, she was driving her car, and he drove all the way to Drumcliff Cemetery, which is the main cemetery in Ennis. And he got out and he went. Now, the road splits the cemetery in two. There is the ancient cemetery and there is the modern cemetery. And he went to the ancient part. And at the very back of the ancient part, there is an old church in ruin, and there is a round tower, or the ruin of a round tower. And so this gentleman disappeared up the hill that the church sits on, or the graveyard sits on, and disappeared behind the ruins. And she followed quite cautiously, I think she said. And when she got there, she couldn't find him at the back of the church. She thought, oh, he must have circled around because it is quite a large area. And she ran back down and she couldn't see him anywhere. But again, this was a man who she just thought, who is this guy who's wandering around with this kind of very unusual mask on? And she followed. So that's where she was. And what ended up happening was
before you go on, Bala, is this you she was following? Did she see you?
Of course not. Why would you think that?
Self-evident, mask, weirdo, going around old buildings. It's obviously you.
Well, I'll ask, how come, well, if that's true, then why didn't she recognize me while she was on the phone telling her friend the story? I was there under the tree just across from her, and she didn't recognize me.
Okay. Well,
because it wasn't me. I'm not saying it was me. That wasn't a slip of the tongue.
That's a detail that was omitted. So, okay, on reflection, continues.
Yes, so so again, she has lost sight of this gentleman. And what ends up happening is she notices a woman in the corner around the side of the church, just at the back of it. And she sees this woman with a video camera, and she thinks, this is very, very strange. Why is this woman, what's she doing? You know, and then she thinks, maybe she saw this guy. Maybe she's filming him too. So she starts to approach the woman, and she just as she starts moving over, the woman starts to move around the ruin. And all of a sudden, she sees the guy, this masked guy coming out, or this masked guy coming out. And so Nemo ducks behind a large tombstone, and she kind of just peers out carefully. And she sees the lady follow him, and he actually comes right around, and he goes into the main entrance to the ruin, to the church ruin. And this lady with the camera follows him in. And no sooner does she go in than there's a huge scream. And Nemo just thinks, oh my God, what is he after doing? And she tears across and hops over the few graves separating her from the ruin. And she dives in. And she doesn't, I suppose, know what she's doing. She's just reacting to the situation. And when she gets there, she just sees the lady on the ground. And she's in the middle of the floor. And standing up on top of the wall, I'm not talking now, not a low wall, this is the very top of the ruin, is this gentleman. And he has this huge snarl on his face, and he has these wide, demented eyes, and he is pointing a staff at her, and he is speaking in some sort of language she doesn't understand. And there is this kind of frozen expression like this on the poor lady on the ground. Nemo doesn't know what to do. She just kind of is, again, she's just here looking at it, and before she has any time to react, the guy is gone. He just disappears. He just vanishes, you know. And she's freaked out. She said, "Oh my God," she said, "I'm so freaked, and I just have to mind this girl and bring her back." And it seems like she has training as a first aid responder, or she's a nurse, because she was able to look after the girl. And I think she called someone and got her looked after. But
Was mouth to mouth required?
I didn't ask Malachy.
It would be an interesting end to the story.
Well, if you like it that way, we can. You can write down some notes, and
No,
you
no,
can.
this is your story. This is your story. I'm just.
Yeah, well,
I'm
you can have
just.
one for yourself for bedtime
I'm a
if you
sucker
prefer
for
the creative.
details, Bala, as you know. But she helped the lady anyhow.
She helped the lady, and what happened was, when she was checking out this lady, she noticed some very, very strange injuries. The lady, at first, she thought she had broken her ankle, or that the man had broken her ankle, but then she realized that the whole leg was actually swollen with these almost boils up and down the leg, and the woman didn't seem to be able to use her leg whatsoever. And she brought her to the doctor, and she brought her to she waited for the ambulance, and then she went with her. And when she was being seen by the doctor said he didn't quite know what it was, and before their eyes, it's cleared up in the hospital. You know how doctors are; it can take 3-4 hours for a doctor to see you. So there's a little bit of I suppose, thought to that you have to give anyway, that these delays can disrupt, can things can clear up themselves sometimes. But this seemed like an extraordinary issue. And anyway, there we were in the pissing rain, and it was just starting to let up a little bit, just enough that you could kind of make a run to the shop or wherever you were going, whether it was the car. And just when she was finishing up the call, she said, "Oh yes, yes, don't worry, Tig. I'm definitely gonna be talking to Ben about this too." So my ears picked up that little name, because Ben has been someone. Well, it is a person I've been following, and I was curious if this was the same Ben. And so I approached her, and I said, "Excuse me," just when she finished the call, of course. And I said, "Have you have you been speaking to somebody who's been seen strange things? I couldn't help overhear your conversation." And she said, "Oh my God, yes, yes. I have this friend. I can't wait to tell him this story. He has he has seen some really weird stuff lately, and he was telling me about some creep he saw hanging around outside of the lunatic asylum. So she wanted to check with him, because maybe it's the same guy." And yeah, I mean, I didn't want to, I suppose, give away too much, so I just nodded and said, "Well, best of luck, and I hope your friend enjoys the story." And I quickly made my exit. Yeah, so that's my strange tale from this week. But you can see what I'm talking about. There are strange things happening.
Let's just allow that to sink in, ladies and gentlemen. It is a story of intrigue, of mystery, and almost a sexual part of it. Almost, not fully there, but it had it all this week, and I congratulate you, Bala, on bringing yet another tale, a true tale of mystery from that little town in the west of Ireland known as Ennis. And thank you once again.
Yeah, Ennis.
Ennis. And I'd
or
like to...
Inish, if you like.
Inish, whatever. Doesn't matter, really. I'd like to thank you, Bala, for painting your face like a wolf and really bringing an extra energy tonight. I have to say, you brought your A game. You're up here now, and I'd like you to keep that energy going forward. It really does make all the difference. As always, I bring my A game every episode, and I promise I will continue to do that until the end of time. And I draw my last breath and leave this world to enter the world of wolves and attack and prowl through the night and haunt your dreams. Thank you for joining us again on Deep Diving with Malachy Murray. Till next time. Arr, 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 arr.